The Bonneville Shoreline Trail has been under construction for 30 years. Join me, Brent and Plewe, and my son Spencer as we hike the 200-mile length of the BST to learn about its past, present, and future, and explore the landscape of this boundary between the city and the wilderness. Well, we'll pick up the trail this morning. Our plan today is actually to hike through what is the most expensive section of the Bonneville Shoreline Trail and one of the newest. As we've seen many times, crossing these canyons can be complicated with the Bonneville Shoreline Trail, but nowhere more than here at what's called the Parleys Crossing segment, trying to get over I-80 in this whole interchange. They had to, in 1999, they had to build 3 freeway overpasses. It cost over $2 million, so this is by far the most expensive section of the Bonneville Shoreline Trail. Actually, now that I think about it, this overpass is a lot newer. And it's part of a fairly new attempt to build a trail called the Parleys Trail that connects from the Bonneville shoreline all the way down through the southern end of Salt Lake City to the Jordan River Trail at the bottom of the valley. So we're kind of trying to build an interconnected network of all of these different trails. Oh, that's actually scratches, not dirt. So that's the best we're gonna get. Most people who drive by on the freeways up here don't notice Suicide Rock down here at the bottom of the canyon. But if you were in pioneer times, when the main road into Salt Lake Valley was down there, which was built by LDS Apostle Parley P. Pratt, which is where Parley's Canyon gets its name. This is a pretty imposing sight as you enter the valley. The name Suicide Rock is actually not new. It was coined by the pioneers who had this rather romanticized story of an Indian princess who stood on top of the rock waiting for her husband to come down from some mission up the canyon, and he never did, and she became despondent and jumped off the rock. Doubt that ever happened, but it made a great story during pioneer times. Now you can see it's a popular site for graffiti. For a long time, actually, next to the rock was a dam that formed a reservoir that was actually one of Salt Lake City's main sources of water for a very long time. Also was for flood control. There would be some pretty major floods that would come down here during the 1800s, during the spring. Look at that, we actually have some pavement here. Might seem strange to see this old asphalt, but at one time, this was actually the main highway through Utah on this ledge. This was US 40, first built in the 1930s to replace that windy road down in the bottom of the canyon. And it was the main highway here going up the canyon on this narrow ledge, really right up until I-80 was built down there in the late 1960s. But this would have been quite the impressive view coming into Salt Lake Valley here. It seems weird to talk about river bottoms clear up here on the side of this cliff, but at one time this would have been the mouth of Parley's Creek going out into Lake Bonneville. So this is typical river bottom sediment that we see at the mouth of a canyon with these kind of various sizes of rounded rocks mixed in with gravel and sand. So this would have been the bottom of a creek at one time. It's amazing with all of the faulting and folding that has gone on the Wasatch Mountains. These rocks have been rotated and tilted almost 90 degrees. So this limestone would have been deposited at the bottom of the ocean millions of years ago, flat, and has been pushed up. Well, that was a serious climb, but this trail is a great example of modern trail design and construction, because there's low enough grade with all the switchbacks, and there were just enough kind of grade reversals that you kind of got a little bit of a break. So it really wasn't that difficult, even though we climbed, I think, about 800 feet. And now that we're up here, we got the next couple miles that is really rather level and pretty easy walking. So really well done trail here. This Parley's Point segment is one of the newest sections of the Bonneville Shoreline Trail. It was just completed last year in 2021. It was quite a big deal, and as I'm about to explain it here, it's just absolutely incredible. I promise this was not staged. We happened across one of our recent guests here, John Knoblock. Welcome, John.
Hey, Brandon, how you doing?
Good.
Fancy meeting you up here again.
I know, this is like totally crazy. But this was John's most recent little baby here, getting this built. So, John, what did you have to go through to get this? Because this is private property. What did it take?
Well, it was tricky because the land here was all owned by Romney Lumber Company at one point, and they had 300-something acres of land. They wanted to build and develop 60 homes up here at one point, but it went through a decade-long court settlement, which ended up being finalized where they could have 13 homes.
It's that one little street down there.
Yep, that one street. And then they had to donate 290 acres to open space. And they asked the Bonneville Shoreline Trail Committee if the road and off the end of the road to connect down to the freeway was going to be sufficient for the Bonneville Shoreline Trail. And I looked at the map and I said, ooh, I see something much bigger here. This could be good. This could be really good. And so we sat down with Cole Cannon, who owned it then, and said, Cole, you know, if we built trail up above on the land before it got donated, is that okay? And he said, yeah, it'd be good for home values to have a trail.
Yeah.
And so it was a win-win situation to that extent. And then we talked to the city and they were good with it, but they weren't going to be able to build trail for like a decade. And so Trails Utah, who I'm on the board of, we said, what if we build it? We'll get the money, we'll hire the contractor, we'll get it built, and it was all good. And so everyone agreed that it was a project worth moving forward to. And so we got it designed, applied for a few grants, got money, and we got it built.
About what, 4 miles
So it's
or
like 4 miles.
Of new trail.
4 miles of new trail.
That's a lot of work.
Yeah.
I'm impressed.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome. It was a pretty fun project.
Well, thank you so much again for all the work you do. We'll let you enjoy the viewpoint.
Thanks. All
we'll
right.
See you later, John.
Have a good hike.
The next part here, this trail is going to end here pretty soon, but the next bit we have to do is to get over there is to build the trail. It's going to probably wind up this ridge and has to cross another couple valleys to get to Emigration Canyon where the trail picks up again. It's going to be another difficult section. John Knoblock is working hard to get that section approved by the landowners and hopefully built, but we'll see when it gets done. Crazy what you find around here. This very highly tilted red bands here is the Moen Kopi formation, which is kind of present everywhere in southern Utah. Forms a lot of big cliffs. In fact, I grew up in St. George at the base of a cliff of this exact same formation. It's just funny to see it up here in northern Utah. Hey, there's H Rock for Highland High School, although the most recent painting looks a lot more like a Roman 3 than an H. Well, that was a great hike on a great trail. Fortunately, I think we've beat the rain here. So we've got to cover this gap here. So next episode, we're going to pick it up at Emigration Canyon, and we'll be hiking on the very first section of the Bonneville Shoreline Trail ever built.